welcome to this week's episode of Beyond This, the safe space for grounded discussion about spirituality, healing, and growth without the woo-woo. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda and I am a professional psychic medium based here in Australia with over 2 decades of experience. And I always have to add this caveat. I've actually been a medium my whole life. I just thought everyone could do what I could do. But I like to put that caveat in there. Wow. I told you the first week of January it was going to be spicy. In fact, the whole of January and most of February are going to be incredibly spicy. But I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the episode, along with my weekly predictions. Today, I want to talk about something that is bugging me. It's when spirituality becomes identity instead of support. When spiritual practitioners carry what they do, what they serve with, what they provide as their whole identity, as well as those who are looking for guidance, looking for help, take on the whole identity of spirituality. I've always practiced very grounded teachings. I don't want this to be all encompassing. It should complement your life, not control it. And I want to talk a little bit deeper about that because I've seen some stuff on social media lately. I've seen some real questionable practices where I worry that there is a fine line into cult-like behavior. What a week it has been. I just want to touch base very quickly about what's happened in Venezuela. I'll make my predictions about what I see around that and things that may come up because of it towards the end, as I said. But I spoke a year ago. Somebody asked me about what would happen in Venezuela, and I said that I saw it happening in about 12 months, early 2026. Did not know what it was. I will hold my hands up. That and those actions by the Trump regime, I did not see what has happened. I am going to say that I feel that this is adding to somebody taking action very soon. And I've talked about this over on my Patreon. I have a new bingo card that I did. I did a bingo card for last year, which I'm going to go through some of those things in today's episode. But I did a bingo card for 2026, and it talks about some stuff that I saw coming up with the United States, as well as other countries. It wasn't just all about the United States. So if you're on Patreon, you will know what I have already said about Trump. All right, to today's subject. I want to talk about this because it comes up in a lot of spiritual spaces, but rarely gets named clearly. And that is what happens when spirituality stops being something that supports your life and slowly becomes something that defines your identity. I am very clear about the fact that I am a medium and it is my job, but I don't walk around tuned into spirit. If I did, I shouldn't be doing the job that I do. Discernment is incredibly important. What you see on television with psychics walking up to random strangers is very much staged. I'm not saying they're not real readings, but I am saying they are staged. It isn't a comfortable place to be in. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to make me sound really conceited, but I used to hang out with certain people many years ago, okay, when the kids were little. And there was one person who's actually written a book on spirituality. She's not famous or anything. She's a small town tarot reader and does a lot of healing work. Doesn't make her any less real. It's just that she doesn't have an international audience. And I distrusted her a lot because she would walk into a room and say, I see your aura is this color. And she would identify as everything was spiritual, everything was spirituality, everything made a lot of people uncomfortable. And I will automatically distrust someone that makes their whole identity around spirituality. However, what I'm talking about is people that are looking for guidance, looking for help. The two things are not the same. Identity is not the same as what you do for work or what you are trying to dive yourself into for healing or to get some answers. When the shift happens, when you allow it to define your identity, it often happens really subtly and it can limit your growth instead of facilitating it. This, as I said, isn't a call out episode. It's not about doing spirituality wrong. And it's certainly not about being too spiritual. It's actually about function. Does your spirituality help you live, or does it quietly replace parts of you? Let's start with what I mean by this. Spirituality as support is something you lean on. It steadies you. It helps you tolerate uncertainty, and it gives you perspective when life feels overwhelming. Spirituality as identity is something you defend, something you perform, something that becomes fused with your sense of self. And when spirituality becomes identity, curiosity often disappears because curiosity threatens identity. Every experience gets filtered through spiritual language. Every emotion becomes a lesson, a download, an activation. Discomfort gets reframed quickly, not processed. Grief gets rushed, and anger gets spiritualized away. Boundaries get called ego. Feedback feels confronting, questions feel destabilizing, and not knowing starts to feel unsafe. And again, this is understandable. Most people don't arrive at spirituality from a place of comfort. They arrive during grief, trauma, loss, identity collapse, a moment when the old ways of making sense of the world stop working. Spirituality often saves people in those moments. But what saves you in a season can still become restrictive if it never evolves. Why identity feels safer than support? It purely is that support requires flexibility and identity offers certainty. When spirituality becomes who I am, it provides belonging, language, structure, and meaning. But the cost is that growth starts to slow. Because if your spirituality is who you are, then changing your mind feels like losing yourself. Outgrowing a belief can feel like betrayal, and questioning becomes threatened instead of expansive. You don't get to say, I don't know anymore, because identity needs answers. The quiet cost of identity based spirituality is that when spirituality becomes identity, emotional range narrows, relationships strain, nuance disappears, personal responsibilities can erode. Because if everything is destiny or a lesson or divinely orchestrated, there's very little room for agency. And this is really important. I want to say this really clearly. If your spirituality cannot evolve, if your spirituality cannot evolve, neither can you. There's another layer to this that matters to name. And that's when identity-based spirituality can start to cross into dangerous territory. Because when spirituality becomes fused with identity, it also becomes vulnerable to control. Cults don't usually begin with harm. They begin with certainty, with answers, with someone or something that promises safety, meaning, or belonging. And the risk itself isn't belief, it's resilience. When people are taught to outsource their authority to a leader, to a doctrine, a channeled source, or a spiritual framework that cannot be questioned, they stop trusting their own discernment. Dependency replaces agency. And once questioning feels unsafe, once doubt feels like betrayal, once leaving feels like losing identity, that's no longer support. That is control. Any system, spiritual or otherwise, that discourages critical thinking, emotional autonomy, or personal responsibility deserves scrutiny. What supportive spirituality looks like doesn't need defending. It allows contradiction. It allows psychology and nervous systems. It allows rest. It allows boredom. It allows you to outgrow practices without guilt. Supportive spirituality helps you sit with uncertainty, take responsibility for your choices, stay connected to others without hierarchy, and be wrong without shame. It doesn't ask you to be enlightened. It asks you to be honest. Does this belief help you live better or just feel safer? Can I change my mind without losing myself? Does my spirituality support any relationships or does it isolate me? Who would I be if I let this soften? There are no right answers, just information. Spirituality was never meant to replace your humanity. It was meant to sit alongside it, to support you, to give you room to breathe, to help you live, not perform growth. And often, the most spiritual thing you can do is let go of needing to be spiritual at all. Because when spirituality stops being who you are, it finally becomes what it was always meant to be: support. I'm going to do a quick shout out to all my new Patreon members. Don't forget, in Patreon, we have a new tier called Connected. Now, one of the biggest questions I get asked all the time is, how do I connect with my guides? How do I know the intuition? How do I tell the difference between what I'm feeling and what my guides are giving me? All of those things. And there is the new tier called Connected. I have put a monthly plan up of what we are talking about. This month, we're talking about the difference between intuition and our guides. You have access to the past groups that we've had. There's not many. It's just started. It's getting going. Great tier to be part of. We are also running the Magnificent Manifestors, where this month, and it has just started, I will put the new link to the WhatsApp group in the Magnificent Manifestors. We are doing a 28-day self-concept challenge. Your self-concept, as I have talked about many, many times, is the basis of your belief system and what you can achieve, who you are, just about everything. But we're going to do a shout out to all the new members. And thank you. Don't forget that this podcast is currently supported through Patreon. So thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Dawn, Nan53, Renee Pancotti, Rob Taylor, who has joined for 12 months, Jessica Fillmore, Ray Lynn, Amy, Sierra W, Britt, Samantha Shoulder, SoCal Girl, Stephanie, C, Granny Shani, Hilary Clements, Jessica Gill, Ashley Borden, Vanessa C, Paula, HB, and Brianna. You guys rock. Thank you for joining. Don't forget that there's lots of discounts for readings that are available. There are Patreon only events like my coffee morning, the Q&A, the manifestors group. All of those things are there for you. Check the collections. You have access to everything from the last couple of years. There's 700 different posts that you can check out. I did a Patreon thank you. So it was an open event. I ran it very like the large mediumship group events that I do, which I have one coming up in February. And it was fantastic. And it was just that thank you. So if you were the middle tier and above, you got it for free. Otherwise, it was just a $20. We raised, I think together, I sent a payment over to the Bondi charity for $1,100, which was what we raised by those that paid. I also did a 30-minute manifesting for the new year event that was free. So lots of stuff that I do. It's not just about predictions, but my 2026 predictions are up in Patreon at this very moment in time. All right, I want to talk about something else to do with spirituality and control very, very soon. Now, this is uncomfortable because I see a lot of cult-like behavior amongst the spiritual crowd. There is a point where spirituality stops being supportive and starts being harmful. And the tricky part is, it doesn't always look extreme at first. Cults don't start with control. They start with comfort. They start with certainty. And slowly, without you even realizing, spirituality stops being something that supports your life and starts becoming something that replaces your inner authority. One of the first signs is that you stop being encouraged to think for yourself. If questioning is labeled as being low vibration, if doubt is framed as fear or ego, if disagreeing means you're not healed enough or not awake yet, oh my God, they're not awake yet, fuck off. That's not spiritual guidance anymore. That's hierarchy. Healthy spirituality says, take what resonates, question what doesn't. Unhealthy spirituality says, trust me instead of yourself. Another big red flag is emotional dependence. I get very upset when I see people that make their audience or don't give them space to learn themselves. When people are taught sometimes very subtly that they can't feel safe, clear, aligned, or healed without a specific teacher, a group, or a system, something's off. Support turns into reliance, guidance turns into dependency. You'll hear things like, only we understand this. People outside this work won't get it. If you leave, you'll fall backwards. And your resistance is just your trauma. That's not depth. That's control, wrapped in spiritual language. Another sign is when real world responsibilities disappear. Instead of learning how to regulate emotions, make grounded choices, or set boundaries, everything becomes spiritualized. Harm becomes a lesson, abuse becomes a soul contract, and boundaries become ego. If you've been following me for a long time, you know how I feel about soul contracts. Discomfort becomes proof you need to go deeper or invest more. And the thing is, real spirituality should expand your life. It should make you feel more grounded, not more afraid, more autonomous, not more dependent, more connected to reality, not less. If a spiritual space makes you afraid to question, afraid to leave, afraid to trust yourself, that's not awakening. Real spirituality gives you tools, not rules, perspective, not prescriptions, and support, certainly not superiority. And it never needs control to survive. Before we go any further, let's just take a moment to come back into ourselves. If it feels safe for you, gently close your eyes. Obviously, if you are driving, save this for later. Take a slow breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And again, in and out. Now bring your attention to where your body meets whatever is supporting you. The chair, the floor, the ground beneath you. Let yourself feel held. There's nothing you need to fix right now. Nothing you need to understand. Nothing you need to reach for. Just notice your breath moving naturally in your body. If your mind is busy, that's okay. If emotions are present, that's okay too. We simply want to bring ourselves back to center. Simply imagine your awareness dropping out of your head and settling gently into the center of your chest, and then a little lower into your body. This is your center, your own internal reference point. Take one more slow breath in and let it go. And remind yourself, I am here. I am safe in myself. I don't need to give my power away to be supported. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and come back into the space. That's a great meditation when you are feeling a lack of concentration, like you're being pulled in many different areas, as if you're on the verge of feeling overwhelmed. Just do that meditation. Take a moment, bring yourself back into center, and then go about your day. I hope that meditation helps, especially after the handful of predictions I want to give you, because there's not a huge amount of good news in January. There might be some, but I'm unsure. I'm going to give you what I've been given. I talked last week about things kicking off between Iran and Israel. I think that is going to happen. I don't know why. I keep getting the 9th of January as being incredibly important. Now, is that my 9th or you in the rest of the world's 9th? I am not completely sure. I want you to keep hold of the 9th of January. It feels like a military event of some sort. Do I think it's connected to Iran and Israel? Yep. I think that there's a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. I also feel like somebody is moving construction workers in somewhere. Could be to do with the White House, and that comes into the news. I'm not entirely sure. We will see Trump challenged during Congress over the next couple of days. I also want to say that there is some shit coming out from MTG. She's got some goss. Listen to her. I know not everyone's a fan of hers. She's obviously done some shitty things, but my guides keep saying to listen to her. I am also being shown a false flag event coming up in, I'm going to say Washington or New York. I'm really on the East Coast. And China is going to make threats. And I also feel like there is a United Nations statement or a NATO statement against Trump. Someone's going to get killed. Like someone of note is going to be assassinated. And it might be that it's somebody connected to like a lawyer or a judge that's connected to a case. Might be Trump's case. I don't know. It feels really odd. It feels like everyone knows what it is, but no one's calling it. Okay, that's how I want to put it. I feel like there's another political type assassination coming in. Just be careful wherever you are in the world, because I am not feeling I just feel like there's a big act coming in. That's how, and it feels like a terrorist attack. When I don't feel comfortable, when I get a migraine, when I feel overwhelmed, I know that there's something big coming in. I don't always know what it is. So yeah, that's how I want to leave it this week. Future predictions. I feel like there's something about the health of the leader of China. He may well be deceased by the end of this year. I also want to say that floods across the globe are going to be horrendous. I am in country Victoria, Australia. We are on day 2. No, we're not. It's day 1 of 40 something degrees. We've got another 2 or 3 days of this. I spoke last week and the week before about the fire season. Take it seriously. This is a bad fire season. I've been talking about it since the middle of last year. Take it seriously. And that's about it for me. I wish I could end on a happier, more joyful note. I think the joy is coming in. I think it's time to move the champagne closer to the fridge. is how I want to leave this week's episode. For now, that's it from me. Take care, everyone. This has been Beyond This.